Welcome, everybody, for another edition of our Perfect Fit Closets webinar for Thursday, December the 1st. We'll be talking about our advanced training today, and we had a question from one of our dealers about how to build a desk. My name is Sherwin Keeley, and if you ever need support from us, you can always email us at support@perfectfitcanada.com. So how to build a desk. So let's open up a brand new design, and let's just create a couple walls. I'll make this 120 inches, 120. And I'll just build a room just so that we can see this. And I'm also going to build an island. So I'm going to take my continuous wall, right click, and I've got my island. All right. So in question, the two desks that I want to make today kind of look like this. So we've got kind of like a standard desk near Murphy bed. So we have an upper wall module and we have a lower type of module. And then down below is we kind of have two desks, or I guess one desk, but it's on a pedestal. So let's talk about how the different ways that you can create desks. At the end of the day, using our catalog in the 2020 designs, it's really up to you and your imagination on how to build things. So using our parts, using what we can do and our limitations, we just have to drag and drop certain modules or certain parts to kind of create the pieces that we want. If you have to go really custom, then you'll be dragging in parts and pieces. If you want things standard, then you'll be using the exact same methods of using our module systems. So let's go ahead and I'm going to label all these walls just so that everybody can see it. And let's go ahead and add a window to the first area. Let's add a basic window right in our room layout tab. And I'll center this. All right, so I'm going to make this as elevation 1. Actually, I'll make this elevation 2. That's the back wall. Just going to go ahead and add my notes. All right, so we got elevation 2 on the back wall here. And let's take a look here, and I'll finish doing the rest. Now that I've got everything labeled, I've got elevation 1 on the left, elevation 2 on the back wall with the window, and elevation 3 on the right side here. I'm going to build a basic desk on one of these walls. Let's just choose elevation 1. And here's the simplest way to build a desk. I'm going to use the modules. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my categories, modules. I'm going to make 3 modules. I'm going to make drawers on one side, the sitting area in the middle, and on the right-hand side, I'll add shelves. So let's do a basic desk. So I'm going to grab a basic tall module. I'm going to drag it into my elevation view. I see my magnet and let go of my mouse. New dialog box appears, and now I got to create a value for my height. So the question is, what desk height should it be? Well, they come in all different sizes, anywhere from 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 inches high, and so forth. So it really depends on the person's height and their preference. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make mine 26 inches. I'll go a little bit lower, and I'll add a 1.5 inch thick countertop to increase the height. So overall, I'll have 27.5. So I'll make my height 26. I'm going to put no applied back. I'm going to have one opening depth. Now, opening depth 14, I find that's not big enough for a desk unless you're in a very small room. I'm going to increase this depth and I'm going to go to 19 inches deep. You can have a big desk, like a drafting desk. Again, depending on the depth that you'd like, it's very customizable. Opening one width, I'm going to keep this as a standard 24 inches wide. Panel on the left, I'm going to make this one half drilled. And panel on the right, I'm going to make this half drilled. I want clean finishes on my end panels. I do want a bottom shelf and I do want a top shelf and a toe cake. We'll click on OK, and we'll just drop this right in. It's floating at the very top, and I'll click up and down and put it into my placement zone. Placement's going to be to the bottom, so I'll hit 0 and enter on my keyboard, and now I have a 24-inch wide module with panel on the left and panel on the right, half drilled. Panel half drilled. And one more time. And we're just rotating. And let's make my fonts just a little bit smaller here. Go to my display settings. If everybody wants to find out how to change your actual displays and so forth, you can certainly click on General, Plan, Elements, Notes, the font underneath display, and I'll make everything size 5 font. Click on OK, Apply, and you're all set. Okay, so those panels are going to be half drilled. And now I'm going to go ahead and create another module for my seating area. So this is the width where somebody's going to put their legs in. So I'm going to make this one the same thing. We're going to go into a tall module. We're going to drag it in farthest to the left, my working left. And we're going to make the exact same thing. Right click on the illustration. We're going to make this one 26 inches high. We're going to make this one 19 inches deep, opening one width. I'm going to choose a very wide opening. The widest that I could be is 36 inches wide. I'm going to subtract the panel on the left, subtract the panel on the right, remove the bottom shelf, and remove the toe kick. So essentially all it is just a fixed shelf. But it is in fact technically a module. We're going to click on OK, and I'll tell you why afterwards. We're going to just drop it, right click, up and down. We're going to put 0 inches from the ground, and we're going to drag and attach it to the next module. So this is going to be my seating area. And we're going to mimic the exact same module here. So I can go ahead, make my own module, or I can right click, copy. I'm going to left click right here and Control V, and I'm going to duplicate my work here. If you ever do duplicate your work, please note that it is going to take a little bit of time. The program is trying to replicate what you're trying to do. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead, drag this over, and attach it to my modules. I have now, I can just duplicate these, copy it, or just make my own. I always want to label my work. That way I can always remember exactly what I'm doing here. All right, so now that I have my desk, I can now go ahead and start building from below. So let's add some drawers on the left-hand side. We'll go to our categories, parts, drawers, and let's click a large drawer here. And another large drawer here. If that will fit, it won't fit. So let's go ahead to our 9. And we're going to be a bit shy here, but I actually have a better idea. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this 9. And because this is an office, I'm going to go ahead and add a filing cabinet below here. To use a filing cabinet, I'm going to use any drawer that says 12.5 inches. If everyone can see, I'm pointing at MDW. So this is my unassembled 5/8 inch TFL1 Galaxy White box that's got a 12.5 inch high front. And again, this is in brackets and it says file. So this is for our file frame folder. And I'll show you at the end what a file frame folder is. Actually, I'll find it right now for you. So if we go ahead into our dealer portal, we'll click on our dealer login. The file frame folder items, if you click on our products and go into our accessories page, scroll down until you find our office accessories. Underneath our office accessories, you can see our file frame kit. We have a file frame kit letter and a file frame kit legal. If I click on the link, it'll show you all the different types of combinations that you can use. You can go horizontal or vertical. And here are the different combinations that you can use for your file folder, depending on the size and depth. It's very versatile and it works fantastic. So let's go ahead and add a unassembled 12.5 inch high front. You can see the drawer front is quite high. The exact measurements, 12.5. And the interior box is going to be 9 1/8. I could go ahead, try to add a 9 inch drawer in there now, and it fits just perfect. We can do the same thing on this side, or we're going to keep it as shelves. So let's keep it as shelves. Maybe somebody wants to use it as a printer. And we'll put one adjustable shelf there. All right, now that I've grabbed my schematics, and now let's go ahead and add a top. Parts. Grab my top, drop it in, and now I want to move it so that it's one top on all three modules. So once I've dropped it in one module, I'm going to click on my F3 button once, F3 again, and now it resizes the part. I'm going to left click on my mouse once, and it saves it. I can go ahead and now make my overhangs, right click my top, click on my attributes, and I'm going to make an overhang on the left side, front, and the right side. By default, the overhang front is 1 inch. I don't need anything on the back. We want 1 inch in the front and 1 inch in the left and 1 inch on the right. Click on OK. Now I have my top. This is quite a long top, so I'm going to double check and see if it's one piece or two pieces. I can right click the illustration. It looks like it's a one piece. Let's just double check in our variables. And if we scroll down, we can see our section. Section width is 89 inches, which is the entirety of the actual board. It stays in the realm of a one piece, so I'll have no seams at all. It will indicate two sections if there is going to be a seam and there's two boards. Now that we're all done, we have to secure it to the back wall. So let's go ahead and add some cleats. I can click on my parts, and I can click on cleat, connect to fixed shelf, and we'll put one in this module. We'll put another one behind in this module. And I can certainly add one in this module. So now we've adhered it to the back wall. If you want a little bit more secure stability for your actual middle piece, you could always delete the cleat. And now you can do cleat standalone, drag it in. And we're just going to attach it like so. And it won't let me here, so I'm going to just manually drag that in. I'm going to resize this to 36 inches wide, 36. And I'm going to go back to attributes. And instead of making this 3 inches, I'm going to make this a little bit wider. So I'm going to make this 6 inches. There are some people that do prefer a larger cleat. So I'm going to go ahead and just go up and down and drag this over here. Oh, disappeared on me there. Okay. And we can just drag this over here. And we'll go up and down. And now I've attached my cleat. If you have any troubles dragging and dropping any parts or modules, feel free to hold down the control button on your keyboard while you're clicking up and down or dragging it left and right. We know that there's no collision there. There is a collision because it's stating that there's a tall module in place, but we know that there's nothing in there, so we force the collision. I'm going to go ahead and right click, go into my display settings, and underneath warning patterns, I could go to colliding items pattern. I'm going to unclick the display box, click on apply and OK, and now I've subtracted the warning pattern. We know that it's correct, and we're going to leave it alone. So this is kind of a standard desk. If I really wanted a wall module, I can certainly add uppers to this as well. If I go up above and beyond, we can click on our modules again. We can go to our wall module. I see my magnet, go to my farthest left. Now we can go ahead and add uppers. So again, it's just based on your imaginations on what you want to do. Let's make 3 modules here. And we're going to mimic the exact same dimensions below. We'll keep the depth at 12 inches. It's a little bit shallower, so when somebody stands up, they don't bonk their head underneath the cabinetry there. The opening 1 width is going to be 24 inches. The opening 2 width is going to be 36 inches. And the opening width on the other side is going to be 24. We're going to keep everything half drilled so the sides have a clean face. And I want a bottom shelf without a rod. 47 3/8 is a little bit too long for me, so I'm going to subtract and go closer to 38. Click on OK. And we'll line it up and drop it in. So I'll go ahead and drop. And I know that there's 9 inches from this point to the left wall. So as soon as that's done, I'm going to right click, drag, move my cursor over to the placement area here, wall to the left. I want this to be 9 inches from the left wall. I'll hit enter, and I am now lined up from the uppers and the bottoms. I can go ahead and add my fixed shelves in the middle. And again, do whatever you'd like at this point. You can add a bunch of adjustable shelves. People like to use this as displays, or if they want to hang their books and so forth, they certainly can. And to finish this off, if you don't want to keep this open, we can certainly add your doors. So categories, parts, and let's look for C door. It's the only type of door that we carry. C door, connect between fixed shelves. We'll drag it in, and we'll move it around to our liking here. If you have a door that is 24 inches, sorry, my apologies. If you have a module that's 24 inches wide or less, you can change these doors to one door. So I can go ahead, depending on if you want to make them symmetrical or not. They're going to be costing very similar in price. But if you want to make them symmetrical, you can certainly add and change this. Go to my variables. Underneath my variables, the hinge is going to be to my left. And by default, override door quantity, I want one door. One door hinge to the left. We'll click on OK. On the right-hand side, we'll right-click C door again, go into my attributes. Oh, my apologies. Right-click, C door, and go into my attributes. Right-click the illustration, left-click on variables, override door quantity to one door, and the hinge is going to be to my right. We'll click on apply and OK. And now I have them symmetrical. I can really make it funky here. I can make these a 5-piece shaker. Let's go to a 5-piece shaker door. And let's add just a basic handle for now. Click on OK. And let's change this one to a 5-piece shaker as well. With our basic handle. And the middle, what I'm going to do for the middle, I'm going to have a 5-piece glass door. So we want a 5-piece GD as our glass door. I'm going to have a clear mirror. So sorry, clear, so I can see through. Basic handle in white. Click on OK. And for my drawer boxes and drawer fronts, I'm going to make these just regular 5-piece. 32mm chrome. Click on OK, and let's take a look at our perspective view. Oh, I made that one to a glass. So let's go ahead back and we can change that. But there is my my drawing. Not too shabby. And this is kind of like a basic desk that you can certainly do. So again, we're just using a tall module left, tall module on the right, tall module in the middle. We just increased or decreased the height and depth, and then we use the wall module for our uppers. So you can make it clear glass doors and whatever you'd like. So let's go ahead and create a different type of desk. The next type of desk is corners. So I get a lot of challenges on these corners. So let's go ahead and create a corner desk and try to alleviate any type of dead space. So there's a couple of different ways to do this, but again, we're going to be using our modules. So I'm going to create something similar to the drawing that I just showed you. So something like this, where it's got a corner and got uppers on one side. So let's kind of create this, and we can kind of create this in two different ways. So we'll do the exact same process. We'll go to our modules, we'll grab a tall module, we'll drag it in, go to my farthest working left, and let go of my mouse. I'm going to right click the illustration, and we'll do the exact same thing, 26 inches high. We'll make this one depth 19 inches. Panel on left is going to be half drilled. I'm going to make this as wide as I can. Let's go to 36 inches there. We can make this wider if you wish. You can go to a maximum of 42. So why don't we do that? Custom, we'll go to 42 inches wide. Panel left is going to be half drilled. Panel on the right, we'll make this one fully drilled. No bottom shelf and no toe kick. So that's kind of what we're creating right now. We'll click on OK. We'll drag this to our farthest right. So we'll go, my wall to my right is going to be 0 inches. Right click up and down. And I want this 0 inches from the bottom. And there is my desk. On elevation 3, we're going to combine them together. So I'll do the exact same thing. Tall module, we'll drag it in. My farthest working left, let go of my mouse. Right click the illustration. We'll make this one 26 inches as well. I will also make this one 42 inches. So again, depends on how wide you'd like it. I'm going to subtract the panel on the left, subtract the bottom shelf, subtract the toe kick. Everyone can see that. I'm now going to click on OK. Drop it. Right click, up and down. 0 inches from the bottom, hit enter on your keyboard, right click, drag. I'm going to just drag it manually. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and click on my item snap, collision, and ortho. So that those are drawing tools that'll help me out. I'll drag this over, left click, and it attaches itself here, like so. So if we take a look of what we've done, we've just kind of merged 2 tall modules on a perpendicular wall. Like so. For corners, you definitely need this third leg here because it needs some sort of support. So we want to add as much support as possible. So this is going to be very vital in ensuring that this system stays in place. To make it more secure, I can go ahead and go to my categories, parts, and we're going to add a cleat standalone. We're going to add a cleat from this point, from this point to here. And we're going to make a cleat from this point to this point as well for extra stability. Cleat connect to fixed shelf, drag it in and drop, and same thing here. So now I've got extra stability. Same thing will apply on the right hand side. Categories, parts, categories, modules, tall module, drag it into my farthest working left. Right click the illustration. We'll make this one 26 inches high, depth 19. Now we've already got a panel there, so we're going to subtract the panel on the left, 19 inches deep. We'll make this 24 inches wide. And we're going to make the panel on the right half drilled. We want a bottom shelf and a toe kick, left click, and drop. Categories, parts, and add a cleat. And we can go ahead to our drawers. 12.5 high file front. Drop. And we know that a 9-inch one works as well. So you can certainly play around what works, what doesn't work. Now, how to add a top. So there's 2 ways to create a top. You will always get a seam. So there are 2 ways to create your top, and this will be for your installer. If I draw it out, there's 2 ways I can create the top. The first way is I can create one top on this module, like so. And then I can make another top from here as my piece number 2. Therefore, I have a seam right here. So that's option 1. The better of the 2 options, which cost more, is to make 2 pieces and miter the corners together. We can create 1 piece, like so. And this piece, so let's just make this, let's just draw this in so you can see it. And this piece, I'm going to make this piece and oversize it to collide with this piece. Now I have two longboards. So on site, my installer is now going to miter the corner and cut it at the angle here. And that is probably the preferred way to actually do your corner desk. If you want to save cost, do option one. If you want to do it a nice looking way during install, I would do it this way as option two and oversize, ensure that there's an overlap, and then they can miter it on site. I can now create my wall modules. And again, just like we did on the other example, I can just go ahead, my categories, modules, wall modules, drag it in, and then adjust the widths accordingly. Make them 12, 19, however deep you'd like it to be. So I won't take too much more of your time here. Let's just add two openings because I know everybody can do this. 12 inches, and we'll make this one 38 inches high. So 38 9/16. Let's just make two openings, 12 inches deep. Widths, we'll just make them 30 inches wide each. And panel on the right is going to be half drilled, and we just want a bottom shelf. Click on OK. And the same thing, we just have to take a look at our lowers and see what we want to do. And now we've created kind of our desk system. Right? So let's move on to the other thing that what we're going to do is a desk piece that's going to be on a pedestal. So these ones are going to be a little bit harder, but you can use maybe parts to create your pedestal and then a regular stackable module or tall module on top. So really, it just really depends on what you want to do. So let's find a couple different ways of how to do that. Okay, let's actually open up a brand new design here. And I'm going to create this in the middle. So I am going to take my room layout tab, click on my continuous button. So to make fictitious walls, we'll make it double-sided, and let's go ahead and create a fictitious wall. Left click, and right click to get out of it. And there is my two walls. Double click to grab both elevations. All right. Same thing as always. Let's go ahead and label elevation 2. Just so we know what is the front and what is the back. Always very helpful. Control A to copy, Control C to copy. All right. Now that we're done labeling, let's go ahead and create our pedestals. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create this pedestal. I can see right here, there's a very long pedestal here on the left-hand side, and there's a shorter pedestal on the bottom. So let's kind of create those. So because this is going to be an L shape, I'm going to go ahead and create another fictitious wall on this side here. Room layout, continuous, left click, and I'm going to create my other wall on this side here. And we actually don't need both elevations, I don't think. So now I've joined them together, and that looks a little bit confusing. So let's delete this elevation here, and we're just going to grab this elevation on the perpendicular wall. All right, now that that's labeled, and on these walls here, we don't really need the outside walls here. Oops. So I'm going to right click the line, go into my type, and subtract the outside placement zone, and the same thing on this wall here. Type, unclick the outside placement zone, so now I just have an inside placement zone. If you're working front and back, then yes, you have an inside and outside placement zone. So let's go ahead and create a module, categories, modules, and let's grab a tall module. I'll drag it into my elevation. Once I'm all done my elevation, and let's go ahead and make this one 26 inches high once again. We're going to have one opening. We're going to make this depth, let's say we want it 12 inches. We're going to make this actually 14 inches. We're going to make this a pedestal. Opening one width. We're going to also make this one 14 inches wide. Kind of create a box. Actually, no, my apologies. We're not creating a box. We're actually creating something very long. So it's going to be one pedestal all the way through. So we're going to make it very long. So let's make this one as wide as we can at 42 inches wide. And my apologies, we are going to make a pedestal first. So let's make this as small as we can make this. Again, there is several different ways how to create this. So let's make this one height 5 inches. Let's make this pedestal 7 1/16. We'll make this one a little bit higher. Depth is going to be, let's see, 14 inches. Yes, that we want the depth. So again, you can start playing around with what you'd like. Make this one all half drilled. No bottom shelf. No toe kick. So that's kind of what it looks like for now. Okay, we're going to also add a back. Add a back to this. We're going to click on OK. And we're going to just drop it in like so. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create another pedestal, but on the other side. So we're going to right click, copy, and paste. That's Control V. And we're going to move this here. So now I've kind of got two pedestals. Perfect. So we got two pedestals, and we're going to kind of join them together, or there's one on this side here, but you get the idea. So really, you're just kind of making parts, do whatever you like. I'm going to keep it to the L frame shape for now. All right, now we're going to have to create another back to enclose this part here. So if I go ahead and figure out the actual width is 43 1/8, and we know for height it's going to be 7 1/16. So I'm going to go ahead to my categories, parts, and I'm going to click on back standalone. So this is just basically a square. You can do whatever you like with it. You could subtract edge banding, you could add edge banding. So let's go ahead to my back, left click back standalone. We're just going to drop it in this off center here. And we're just going to just drop. Okay, we're going to do two of them, one right here and one right here. Let's create, let's drag this one over just a tad there. And we're going to right click on this back, go to my attributes, and I'm going to make this one 7 1/16 inches high. 7 1/16 inches high. For the width, we're going to make this one 43 1/2. Okay, we're going to click on OK. And now all I'm doing is just in and out and moving this side to side and so forth. And we'll let item snap take over. It's very helpful. It'll just snap it right in the corners, right in place. And now I've got a kind of a square box. And I can do the same thing on this side. Back standalone, we'll just drag it in. Right click, go to my attributes. We're going to make this 7 1/16 inches high. 7 1/16 inches high. We're going to make the width 43 1/2. Click on OK. And I'm going to rotate. And in and out and drag will always work. So in and out, drag it, and we're just kind of playing around here now at this point. In and out. Nope, that doesn't work. How about drag now? And we'll let the item snap take its place once I see the square. And we'll just drag that over just ever so slightly, just so that we can get it in place. Perfect. So now we've got a perfect square. We can always double check on edge banding right now as well. I want to have everything edge banded on all sides. So I'm going to go ahead underneath. I know that there is no edge banding on the very back. So I'm going to add edge banding at the very back. Everything else has been edge banded here. So we're going to go to take the back, right click back, and go into my features and options. And that specific part, I want edge banded on the left, right, top, and bottom. Click on OK. Same thing on this one here. Go to my back, go to my features and options, and we're going to say yes to edge banding on all 4 sides. Go back into my perspective view. And now I've kind of created a pedestal. It's hollow. If you want a bottom as well, you certainly can. You could add a bottom shelf if you really want. That's not a big deal. If you want to save cost, you can just leave it hollow like so. Okay. All right. Now that we're done there, let's go ahead and create our modules. So let's go ahead and create a stackable module or tall module. They're really one and the same. Let's go to my categories, modules, and let's just use a stackable module. We'll just drag it in. And we'll drop. And let's just make this desk 19 inches. And we'll make this one 2 openings. 19 inches deep. Opening 1 widths. Now I didn't pre-measure, but I certainly can. So right now we have a module that's 42 inches. And now this is a pedestal. I can really make this bigger, smaller, whatever I'd like to do. Because this is 14 inches deep, this is 19. Let's make it actually a little bit wider or longer. Let's make this one 24. Nice and large. A big, large desk on the left-hand side. Opening depth, we'll make this 24. Opening 1 width, let's make this one, see here, 42 plus 42. Let's make this one 2 30s. And we do, see here, we're going to make this one half drilled on the panel on the left. Panel on the right, we'll make this also half drilled. This is our desks so far. Height, because we already at 7 16ths, we can do some math. The current desk height that we had before on the other side was 26 inches. Well, we also have a 7-inch bottom. So we should make this module around roughly 19 inches. So let's make this height roughly around 19 inches. And it's just an approximate. There you go, 19 inches, 24 inches deep. Everything's half drilled. And we want no bottom shelf, and we want no toe kick. We're going to click on OK. Now we can kind of float this and drop this however we wish. We can center this, go up and down. So let's take a look here. So if we do some basic math, we have 62 and a quarter and 43 and a half. So we need to center this. Just grab my trusty Excel calculator. Equals 62 and a quarter, enter, equals 43.5, enter. And we're going to just subtract these two numbers is 18.75 and equals this divided by 2. So each side is going to be 9.375 on each side. And we'll just drag this accordingly, or we can actually do the math and try to center this like so. And it looks like here, my trusty tool is actually pre-calculating things for me here. Or trying to, at least. Oh, I think I'm going to the wrong side here. I drag this, I need to go a quarter more here. 28 and a quarter. Nope, 28. For some reason, it's not doing it there. Unless my math is wrong, but you get the idea. You try to center this like so, and drop it in. So this isn't going to work because this is still hollow. So there's going to be two things that we're going to need to do here. That's the very important thing here. Most important part is we got to create two bottoms here. So I'm going to go ahead to my categories, parts, shelves, and I'm going to grab a shelf bottom and make this into a complete square. Now I'm going to say that I need a 62 and a quarter wide panel. And now I'm going to measure here, and I need a 15 and a half wide panel. And I'll tell you why. Let's double check this measurement here. I want to the outside to outside is 15 and a half. So I need a panel that's 15 and a half. So I'm going to grab a adjustable shelf standalone. I'm going to drop it. And the width, I need this to be 62 and a quarter. I'm going to right click on my attributes. Go to my variables, 62 and a quarter, and the depth can be 15 and a half. So 15 and a half by 62 and a quarter. So now I'm going to float this down, up and down. So now I've got a little tray. You can see here that I've got this shelf that is below the fixed shelves and below the gables. This will certainly help. So now you can put a lot more pressure down below here because it's got a little platform. If we didn't have this little yellow platform, the verticals on the bottom and the pedestals might go through. So this just adds extra basic support. Just dragging and dropping, going up and down. And now we can just try to line this up like so. Shelf adjustable. I'm going to drag that over. And now I've got my pedestal. All I got to do now to finish my pedestal is go to my parts, tops, drop it in, features and options. We'll make this one, let's go to attributes and we'll make this one 1 inch. Do 1 inch overhang on the left, 1 inch overhang on the right, 1 inch overhang on the front and back. All 4 sides. So you can kind of see that this is coming along nicely. I know that we're running out of time, so let me just finish it up here and add a different color here. Gray authentic oak versus white. We'll click on our perspective view. And now we've kind of created a pedestal. Obviously I could add some edge banding here and so forth, but there is kind of my pedestal. And it's kind of coming along here. It's kind of very similar to this. You could add tops, you could subtract tops, and so forth. So really at the end of the day, it's just really your imagination. And you could really use different types of parts to make whatever you'd like. If you have any questions at all, feel free to give us a email at support@perfectfitcanada.com. The lesson here today is how to build a desk and how to use general parts for different items there for a lot of custom cabinetry. You can certainly use any of our panels, any of our back parts. You can rotate them, you can invert them, you can click up and down, drag it, however you'd like it to kind of build the exact cabinetry that you'd like just using basic pieces. Thank you so much and hope to see you again next week.